Hi, I'm Fabian Khalil from FX Kotal, and tonight we have a very exciting guest coming onto our show, Mr. Graham Motion, all the way from the United States of America. This is thanks to our sponsors, ATFX and Shire Bets. Shire Bets is an online betting platform where you can bet anything from horses to sports betting to a casino, online casino. Most importantly, you can bet directly on the South African tote from Shire Bets. ATFX is our trading global partners. They're very good to us, and they got a trading World Cup that's coming up very soon. If you need more info on that, please don't hesitate to contact us. In saying that, we've got our links below. Please sign up to Shire Bets or sign up to ATFX. You need some mentorship, contact me, and we can take it from there. Have an awesome evening, and please enjoy this episode.
Good evening, folks, and a very warm welcome to a fantastic show this evening where we've got a gentleman who's become quite a regular host, or rather a regular feature on our programs. And this time it's with fantastic news and with fantastic results that we greet Graham Motion. Thank you for joining us this afternoon after a fantastic win by the darling of our turf. Give me another in the Grade 1 Beverly D.
Yeah, it was a great weekend and a great performance by her.
You know, having spoken to you last week, in the typically unassuming Graham Motion manner, you expressed an amount of confidence that you would probably start favored as a result of you looking at the complexion of the race. She showed so much class, so much resilience, and it just shows that I think even though there might have been interruptions to her program, that there may well still be the best to come from this daughter of Gimme the Green Light.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, Mike and I have always discussed that as the distances get a little further, she should improve. And I think she showed that on Saturday. Honestly, my bigger concern was with her first race back this year in New Jersey at Monmouth when it was just over a mile. I thought that was going to be a bit quick for her. But, you know, honestly, she's such a classy filly. She just handles pretty much what you give her. And she was remarkable on Saturday.
Well, Graham, I know that you're going to find this interesting, but this afternoon I was in the stable of one of our old veteran horses who was a very, very good sprinter. His name was Valberg. I don't expect you to ever have heard about him, but he was by Var, who's the son of Forest Wildcat, who was the same size Variety Club, who I'm sure you've heard about, having been in Dubai. He was a very good miler. But the point is that this horse had a little bit of a snotty nose for the last 3 or 4 days, and we've been treating him with Perbac and trying to find the problem. And I had the dentist there this afternoon, and it just so happens to be that this particular gentleman is exactly the same horse dentist that used to treat Gimme Another when she was in Mike de Kock's stable. And I've asked him to go back through her records to see if he found anything that relates to the problem that you encountered. And I think, if my memory serves me correctly, you said it's one of the very few times in your whole life that you've had to deal with this problem. And it certainly seems to have done her proud, getting to grips with whatever the problem was.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she basically had a cracked, infected tooth, but, you know, you couldn't see it on the surface. And the reason we realized it was because she had constantly a little bit of discharge out of one of her nasal passages. So that's how we picked up on it. Lucky we did, because I'm sure it was bothering her. You know, and obviously this had been going on for a while. She'd been racing with me with it for a while, but it wasn't until this winter that it really became obvious.
Yeah, I must admit, Graham, I find this absolutely fascinating because the same day that he came to treat Valberg, he treated a little pony that we got from some godforsaken little town. And we had no idea how old this pony was. We thought he was probably about 12 or 14, you know, and ponies can go on till 30, 35. But it transpires that this horse is probably closer to 30. And he had terrible sharp hooks in his mouth. And I don't think people realize just how difficult it is for a horse to actually digest his food and to chew his food and just to do well. I mean, that's probably one of the most fundamental aspects of a horse's life other than his feet.
Yeah, and how important it is to have a good dentist, like you obviously have. You know, you can't replace a really top dentist, that's for sure.
Okay, so I just want to ask you one further question about this particular process. Was it done under local anesthetic, or did she actually have to have a general anesthetic to have that tooth removed?
I want to say it was done under local. I mean, she did go into a clinic both times, and when she saw the first issue, which she fixed, she was afraid she was going to have to go back in there, but we didn't do it right away because we were trying to avoid it. And then eventually it became obvious that she was going to have to go in and repair this other tooth, this other damaged tooth. So I'm pretty sure it was done under local.
So the point is, did she ever show any kind of hanging in her races or in her work, or was it just the nasal discharge that alerted you to this fact?
Yeah, not that I remember. She did have a slight head shake, which we'd always noticed. So obviously something was irritating her, and that doesn't seem, I don't notice it any longer since we fixed these teeth.
So good as gold now, and looking forward to ultimately the Breeders' Cup. I mean, maybe she'll have a race in between or two. I'm not sure. What is your long-term thinking?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind not racing her again, but I think she's so lightly raced this year. I think it behooves us to find another race before the Breeders' Cup. The most logical race would be the EP Taylor up at Woodbine. It's 6 weeks, it's 7 weeks from this race and 6 weeks before the Breeders' Cup. So from a timing point of view, you can't do much better than that. It's 1.25 miles. Johnny will be able to ride her. So there's a lot of positives for that.
Graham, what was his feedback like?
He asked me if I made him nervous. Or if she had made me if she had made me nervous. And I said, yes, you had. I didn't think he was. I was actually standing past the wire with my wife, and I think because we were at that angle, it looked like it was even less likely that she was going to get there.
Yes.
But he said he had her measured from the top of the stretch.
And how did you feel? I mean, did the adrenaline carry you through? Because you'd obviously been on a very, very long transatlantic flight all the way back from glorious Goodwood. How did you feel on the day?
Yeah, we had a pretty hectic schedule, actually, because the traffic from our base at Fair Hill to Colonial is terrible, whatever time of day you do it. We actually ended up driving halfway and then flying the last part because the traffic was so backed up. So it was a bit of a hectic day, but very rewarding. You know, obviously you're always nervous when you run your sort of stable stars, of which she is. You always feel extra pressure, right? So, yeah, it was a day of anxiety, but a day of tremendous relief and, just pleasure in watching her run the way she did.
Well, if you look at my WhatsApp profile, it says the price of survival is change. And at what stage of the journey from the airport in the car did you decide that you're going to have to change course and call in the helicopter?
Well, I had made plans as I was getting ready to go to the races that morning. I mentioned to my wife there was a pretty convenient flight if things looked bad. But we actually drove past the airport and then had second thoughts and went back because it was very touch and go as to which was going to end up being quicker, even if we got stuck in traffic. Anyway, it went very well. Had a great day at Colonial, had a good night celebrating afterwards. So it was a good day.
Okay, so was Isivunga Bunga your first runner of the day?
No, he was not. I believe I ran Roja before that. That was the fillies version of that race. And she won actually earlier. She's also, like Gimme Another, she's unbeaten this year. She's by Caraconti.
Okay, please, if you wouldn't mind helping the public out there. Caraconti, which sire line is that? Because I have to hang my head in shame and tell you that I'm not familiar with that pedigree.
So that's in the Arcos family. Caraconti won the Breeders' Cup Mile the same year that I won the 1.5 mile race for Niarchos. I won the Breeders' Cup Turf the same year that Caraconti won the mile. He's a very underrated stallion. He was a really good racehorse. He won the Breeders' Cup from the worst post. He drew 14, I think, at Del Mar, which is hard to imagine you can win from out there going a mile. So obviously he was a very good horse. He's a very underrated stallion. They're not really commercial stallions, but he produces really solid runners.
Well, I seem to think in the back of my mind that there's a very strong tie to the Niarchos family at Varsfontein, which is obviously where Give Me the Green Light stands. I know that Judpot might have been involved with the Niarchos family. I don't want to muddy the waters by getting my facts wrong, but I know that there is a very strong contact between the Varsfontein family and the Niarchos family.
Yes, and we've had several Caracontes that have gone on to do well, including this filly. So she's an exciting filly. We hope to get to the Breeders' Cup with her as well.
Okay, so suffice to say, she lost her unbeaten record, but lost no fans. Is that correct?
She won. So she
won.
Yeah, she won. She's undefeated this year. Yeah.
Okay, so she's completely undefeated.
Yeah.
Even after that round. I'm sorry for reading that wrong.
Yeah, she won on Saturday, and then I think Isivungu was our next runner after that.
And how did he come out of that run, and was it positive going forward?
Yeah, he seems good. I mean, I think it was a positive race. He was beaten just over a length for everything.
Yeah.
When I look back on the race, and a couple of very good horses finished in front of him. It was only his second race back in over a year. So look, I think there's certainly some positive to be drawn from it. He's just turned 8 under your, August 1st being the horse.
Yeah.
So he's just turned 8. So he's definitely a little older. It's possible to say he might have lost a little step being that much older, but he ran a very competitive race on Saturday.
Graham, the more I think about it, when I look at some of these old fellas, I mean, that have been racing in Gold Cups for 3 or 4 consecutive years, like Rebels Romance and Yates and these horses. I mean, 8 really isn't that old, depending on what kind of racing schedule they've had and, how they've been looked after.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. I think over here, it's less, you're less likely to see it over here, to be honest.
What, do you think that they start their racing career and there's a bit of a hurry up inclination?
No, I think perhaps it's a little harder on them over here. We run on harder surfaces. I actually don't think we don't run our 2-year-olds any earlier than they do, say, in Europe, to be honest. So I don't think in that respect we're any harder on them. I just think perhaps it's a more grueling schedule. It's kind of year-round racing also, which can be tough.
Okay, so in between Isivungu and Give Me Another, you had another runner. I think he was number 1, if my memory serves me correctly. And what did you make of his performance?
Turf Star, probably.
Turf Star, yeah.
In the Secretariat. Again, a bit like Isivungu, I thought he ran a very credible race. He wasn't beaten more than 2 lengths. We were taking a bit of a shot. It was a pretty competitive grade 2 for straight 3-year-olds going a mile. But he's a horse that I like. Probably going to race him one more time this year and then give him a little break. He really hasn't had a freshening. He ran in the Breeders' Cup last year as a 2-year-old.
Okay, so one to keep an eye on.
Definitely, yes.
And then he had one blemish on his copybook, which we all discussed, and just draw lines straight through it. But were you disappointed with Tesco? Because when I watched the race, there were 2 colors that were very similar. And I noticed that the horse that was lying last stumbled out of the gate, and I thought that was him, but I got it all wrong. But he just didn't seem to travel in the same manner in which he normally seems to travel. And I would have to say probably a below par performance for him.
Yeah, definitely we were disappointed. I mean, I thought he was the horse to beat after the favorite, who won very impressively. We had a great trip to about the half-mile pole, maybe to the 3 furlongs from home, and then things got very muddled. A horse on the outside of him started leaning in on him, a horse that Javier Castellano was riding, and everything got very bunched up. And my horse, he's a grinder. He doesn't have a tremendous acceleration, and in that space of time, the winner, Ian Wilkes' horse, had already gone for home, and we just couldn't quicken like that, and also had some trouble to avoid to even get into gear. So to me, the race just didn't set up very well for him, which was frustrating. He needs a clear path, and he's a grinder. He needs a good trip.
And the early sectionals weren't that fast either.
No, that's true. But I liked where Manny had him during the early part of the race. It's just
Yeah,
a shame he didn't get clear coming off the turn. Nothing he could do about it. It was just the way the race set up.
sure. Luck of the draw. Okay, so there's some fantastic racing this weekend at Saratoga. If we wanted to follow Graham Motion, do you have a web page where you post your runners? Do you have a group that we could follow? Some of your trainer comments, because we don't want to bug you, every single week with your selections, because I'm sure you're a very busy man and there's lots of people that want a slice of you.
Yeah, we have herringsvillestables.com or grahammotion.com. We have a website. It has all our runners listed on it. It has articles about each of our winners after they win. We had a nice 2-year-old winner yesterday at Saratoga, and we also run a 3-year-old filly in the I think they call it the Saratoga Oaks tomorrow, which is a grade 2 for 3-year-old fillies. Actually, Jess and Steve won it last year with Laura Lynn, the Gels. So we're going.
Oh, yes.
Taking another shot
awesome.
in that race. There's some great racing. It's Whitney weekend. We're up in Saratoga now. It's Whitney weekend. There's fantastic racing. Hall of Fame ceremony is tomorrow, which is going to be a tough one because Christophe Clement's going into the Hall of Fame, as is John Sheriffs, who both passed away last year. So it's going to be a very emotional day for the Hall of Fame.
So, of course, the obvious statement is that Miguel will be hoping to pay tribute to his dad by winning what can only be described as an absolutely crackerjack race with a horse that was very impressive last time out.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it's great racing all through the weekend.
Do you have a particular leaning in that race? Do you think, Zulu Kingdom, who won, I think that was the penultimate start of test scores. What do you have a particular fancy in that race, or do you think we're going to see the best out of Sovereignty this weekend?
I hope so. I mean, Sovereignty's a horse that everybody kind of gets behind. He's a Derby winner, and I think Zulu Kingdom is, apart from the one blemish on his record earlier this year, he's a very, very good miler. Could end up being one of the favourites for the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question on the air. If I go onto your website, would you have any problem with us posting comments from Graham Motion on Race Vault so that, that our fans can follow Graham Motion? Because we do have an American tipster, a guy called Greg Watson, who was on the show with us once upon a time, very knowledgeable, passionate man. Would you have any problem with that?
No, anything that's on there is also shared on social media, either on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook. So anything on there is all sort of very
public knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there's no sort of intellectual property rights that need to be paid or anything. We just like to clear that up because some people are quite sticky about their intellectual property, probably rightfully so.
Yeah, and all the past performances for our runners are on there, all our workouts, the times for the workouts. So yeah, there's quite a bit of information on there.
Well, Graham, as always, thank you very much for giving up of your time. I hope that the ceremony tomorrow night is not too emotional and that people respect and pay tribute to all the great achievements that these two particular gentlemen have achieved. And I hope this weekend goes smashingly well for your stable.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Cheerio, Graham. Take care. Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye.